Kendo Podcast episode 121. In this episode, I want to talk about tips of learning new skills. Kendo Podcast by Hiro Mafuji from kendoguide.com. Thank you for listening. This podcast is about Japanese martial arts Kendo for Kendo lovers and supported by Kendo enthusiasts through patreon.com. Thank you for your support, guys. Please visit kendoguide.com for more Kendo information and how to support kendoguide.com. Welcome to Kendo Podcast episode 121. All right. Okay. Now in this episode, probably in 2 weeks I'll be in Japan. So maybe I try to update podcast or other stuff, other videos and all the good things for the members, but I might not be able to, so I apologize in advance, okay? And I will try to get every good things together. I am planning to take videos in Japan so I can share good stuff with you too, okay? And first, now in Japan we have a lot of heat strokes at the moment, and according to the news, almost 20,000 people were sent to hospitals because of the heat strokes. Also 65 people died by that. So if you're in Japan or if you're planning to go to Japan, please do be careful. Please be careful. And Kendo Jidai magazine 2018 August issue, that's number 554, page 144. There is a article about become strong by Kendo food. Kendo 食で強くなれ. That's I think that's a series. And this lady was talking about heat stroke. So when you feel, if you feel these, maybe you are lacking water. So please be careful. Okay. So if you feel like if you start feeling like your lack of your concentration and get tired really quickly, I mean, quicker than normal. And when you start feeling hotter than usual, okay? And also when you start, getting muscle cramps, that's a kind of sign of lack of water, okay? So you can't just chuck water when you feel this. You have to constantly drinking water. And then when you have headache, that's a sign of lacking water and feeling sick to stomach. So you feel like vomiting, and your heartbeat getting faster than normal. Okay, that's another sign. And you cannot recover from fatigue. So you're resting, but you're still tired. That's a sign. Those are indications of heat stroke or a lack of water. So make sure you don't once you feel this, stop training, or you just make sure you rest well. Okay, and then if you don't get recover from those, you just go and see a doctors. Okay, don't say, okay, I'm okay. You might not be okay. The fact is, over 20,000 people were sent to the hospital, and then 65 people died. So it's not okay. It's not really something you can underestimate. So make sure, especially you do Kendo, right? So put ball on. You easily get to like 40 degrees, 41 degrees, 45 degrees. And even they have AC inside the dojo, which is very rare in Japan. unless you go to a gym, like sport gym, maybe they have AC, but most of the time they don't. And so please be careful. And also, what else I wanted to mention? Yeah, if you go to Japan, uh, of course you take medicines that are familiar to you. You know, of course they do have medicine in Japan, over-the-counter medicine, but that you might be, you can't, you know, this all in Japanese, so you might not be able to read what you should get. You might be allergic to something, you know. So take your medicine. Okay, make sure you do that. And if you have favorite drinks like sports drinks, if you have powder, make sure you bring those too. It will help. It will be helpful, you know. So they do have drinks in Japan, of course, but I'm talking about familiarity. So you know, you don't, maybe you don't like it in Japan, in a Japanese drinks. You never know. So make sure you protect yourself wherever you go, and be brave to say, "Oh, I don't feel good. I don't think I should train." Okay. Japanese summer is hot and humid. The humidity is bad. So please do make sure you don't get heat strokes. When you think you're getting heat strokes, stop training. All right. Now, tips to improve your kendo skills. One, when you get hurt, stop. All right. When you get hurt, like, you know, heat stroke, you can train, you can push yourself and you can go through that training maybe. But if you have to stop, if you have to take a break from the following training, that's not good. So, you know, that's a loss basically. So make sure you can push yourself a little bit, but you should know your limits. All right. And if you're getting old, like me, you cannot do what, you know, what you used to be able to do. So you should know that as well. Okay. And so I'm going to Japan. Haven't been back to Japan in summer, so I'm very afraid. I know how hot it is. I know how humid it is. So I really feel afraid. You know? So let's see how it goes. All right, especially Osaka. Osaka is a lot hotter than any other places, apparently. So because of buildings, and we don't have much. We're talking about Osaka City, so it's not Osaka, all Osaka area. In Osaka City, they don't have as trees. They don't have trees, or they don't have many. They don't have many trees. They don't have many parks, apparently. So that's why, and a lot of tall buildings, and no wonder why it's really hot. So be careful if you go to Osaka, especially. Now, so don't do anything that will break your body, all right, physically or mentally. Don't do anything that break you physically, mentally. But also, it's important to remember that what type of you are. What, like, some people are good at watching and copy. That's the best way, I think. That's the best way to learn movements. You just copy. But the disadvantage of that, you copy everything. So if you copy your senses bad habits as well, and you know, it is a part of the deal of, you know, learning from a sensei, one person. I still think it's a good thing, but and then you have to know disadvantage. You copy bad things as well, bad habits as well, that you are copying, you know, the person you're copying from. And the other person are good at reading, learning from reading. And of course, the disadvantage is you have to put it up in your head, and then you have to do it. But reading is, I think it's serial process. And I learned these words: serial process and a parallel process. I think these are from computer terms. And what it means is serial is you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. So it's got boom, 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 boom. Sequence. So you complete task in sequence. On the other hand, parallel is you do things at the same time. So you go 1, 2, 3. So you do this, you do this. So it's multitask, if you will. So in that way, you can make your process faster, right? Instead of going this, you go, you do that at the same time. So it's much faster. Okay, how can we apply that to Kendo? So Kendo is multitask. You have to deal with your hands, you have to deal with your feet, you have to see. It's a daily life. We always do that in daily life, right? We have to, habit, we don't have to do it consciously, it's unconscious. It does it, you don't have to think about, I have to do it. So unconsciously, a lot of things are working for us. If you can say, "Oh, we are built like that," of course, we are built like that, maybe. So that's fine because you don't have to worry about them. So the problems we have is just conscious level. If we start thinking about, "Oh, I have to do this and I have to do that at the same time," all of a sudden you have difficulties because it's conscious. You have to do it at the same time. Even though unconscious level, you do a lot of things at the same time, but conscious level is hard to do. But we can do it. It's like how to drive. I still remember my driver instructor was Alex Bennett sensei. And I still remember I was driving stick shift back in old days in early 90s. Man, I'm hungry. Early 90s. Yeah. And then his car was stick shift. And he was teaching me how to drive. And of course, I've never driven before, right? And so I was looking at my hand going stick shift. Of course, it's the right side, so stick shift. Is that right side? Left? Yeah, right side. So using it like that. And then that was a huge parking space, but there was a poles. And I was driving into one of the poles, and then he went, "Hira!" shouting at me really loud. I still remember the voice. It was like, so until you get used to the movement, you have to be conscious, right? You have to know what you're doing. You don't even know 1, 2, 3, 4, and then at the same time you have to move your feet. So it's hard to do, right? But after some practice, maybe a lot of practice, you're able to do it without looking at your hands. And then when feet goes, right? You just hear the sound. You remember everything. You hear sound and you feel how it feels like. So you can coordinate everything at once. Plus, you are watching the roads, sign, traffic lights, and people around you, cars around you. You pay attention to all, maybe not all at the same time, but you do that multitask. You have to check rear mirrors, side mirrors, right? Everything. So you can drive safe. You can do that after some practices. It's the same thing. So one thing, we also one thing at a time. So if you can copy someone by looking at people, right? Let's say this is how you strike men. So you pay attention, men strike, okay, as a whole, and then you don't really think, "Oh, his hand is like this, his feet are like that." You just look at the image, and then you record it into your brain. and you play it, replay in your brain, and then accordingly you start moving your body. That is really, the fastest, quickest way to learn a movement, in my opinion. And that's why you also copy bad habits as well. If you cannot do it, if you're more like serial person, serial processing person, you can do, hand is like this, like writing. Okay, first you grab your sword like this, like that. Use the left little finger, ring finger should be tight. The rest of the fingers relax, and the right hand relax. Just wrap your fingers around the scar, make V shape here. Okay, so step by step, and then once you get that motion, don't forget that, right? The important thing is a lot of people get really what do you call it? It's not carried away. So overload, information overload. A lot of information. Okay, I can do this, and then another information came, and you can't take it anymore, right? So before you say, I can't take it anymore, do that first. So maybe you have to ask your instructor, say, okay, can I just get this movement first and then move next? Okay, maybe that's not how your sensei teaches, but probably that's how you learn. So, if even when your teacher, maybe it's too much for your teacher to follow how you learn. If you are the serial processing person, just do this first, okay? Hand first. Once you get it right, okay? What I mean get it right, you can do it without thinking. Move on to next, okay? And then don't forget what you did, all right? And move on to next. And you learn this. Maybe you have to go back to the first one because you have to combine those two together now, right? At the very end, you have to do everything at the same time. Hands, movement, shinai motion, feet, your body, where you look at. You have to do everything at the same time, right? It will need time, so don't expect yourself to get everything right like that. Maybe you can. It depends on what kind of person you are. It's not about superiority, which one is good. Sometimes people work that way, sometimes people work that way. So it depends on the types, right? So if you're a parallel processing person or like more visual, you just get everything right. And then, but you still need to fine tune. So you have to go back. You have to not go back. You have to start analyzing how you can make it smoother, or how can you make everything even completely together, right? Maybe something is off. Timing, maybe, something is, you can't do it everything perfectly at this after a few trials, right? So that's fine, that's normal. Just try to fine tune it, okay? When you fine tune it, you need to have this serial processing. Okay, I'm doing this right. Just check one by one. He said I have to do this. Okay, am I doing this? Okay, good. So everything has to be like, at the very end, total, like as a whole, you should be able to do things correctly. And to get to the certain level, everything looks okay. And then if you want to go further up, right? Everything looks okay. But little things like angle of your wrist, maybe, you have to start trying to fine tune those little things. and then find out what works best for you. So we have big framework. This is Kendo movements, right? This is Kendo movements. We do this, we do that, right? Some people, so this and this is pretty much the same for everyone. Okay, maybe how you grab your sword may be different from person to person, but remind you, a lot of people fine tune what they learned. So it's pretty much they come up with what works best for them. Especially if your sensei is higher grade, like 6th dan, 7th dan, 8th dan, they come up with something works for themselves. And also, maybe after teaching a lot of people, they realize, oh, probably this works for this kind of people. Because taller people, shorter people, we have different types, body types, different, like I said, different types of learning as well. And some people are good at visually learning, or verbal learning people. A lot of different types. Okay, so some people are good at like one-on-one session, maybe working on one thing over and over, and then next. Okay, so a lot of people are different. So the best way is we change method from one person to another. That's the best, I think. But it doesn't mean so that means the instructors have to know how to teach on different people, right? Different types of people. But anyway, so find out what kind of person you are, and you got to work on one by one. Anyway, you have to do both. You have to do multitask, and you have to be able to analyze, like serial processing. This is in a fine tune. Okay, so if you try to go up, you have to start learning how to analyze and how to fine tune. For example, there's always advantage and disadvantage. Sensei says this should be left hand should be a center, right? Center of your body. So you put the center your hand in the center of your body. But if you do it too much like that, it locks your wrist. Now, it's maybe you think it's okay because you just go like that. Okay, but to me, it hurts my wrist because I hurt my wrist a long time ago. So I don't want to do it because it hurts. And plus, if you do this, you can only move this much, right? If you turn a little bit, you can try how you can how you can move your wrist with wide range. This is better than this, range wise, okay? And it doesn't hurt my wrist, so I use that. So that's for me. Doesn't mean I teach that to my students. I teach my students like this frame, within this framework. What I do is for me. Maybe it works for my student. I don't know. I don't really teach my stuff because it's my stuff. So it's very individual, very personal. And then if someone says, oh, my wrist hurts, my left wrist hurts, then I try that. But if you do that, this will happen. So you have to understand the disadvantage of that, right? So it's always advantage and disadvantage. And always people say, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing that. That is normal because we are all different individuals. So some things works for you, some things don't work for you, but for others, right? So we need to have this framework. This is what we do in Kendo, right? And then you got to fine tune those movements for you. So that is what you have to do. For adults, fumikomi is a problem, right? I understand a lot of people wants to go bang like that, but it's not the sound we are looking for. It's the kiken tai ichi we are looking for. So if you change your perspective, probably you'll be more successful in kendo, because if you're just looking for this sound or go bang like that, you're gonna get hurt. And if you focus on going forward, it will do that. Your body will do that. It's like if you want to run fast, you have to swing your arms really big, right? And fast. So your feet your legs move faster too. For some reason, it's how it works normally, but it's your body doesn't work like that. Okay, so different people, different structures of the body, different how they work is really different. So you need to find out how how to control your body in order to do this kendo framework. And then sometimes you need to fine tune it. I think that's very important for you to figure out. Okay. And how long? Oh, okay, it's 26 minutes. So I'm going to stop right here. Like I said, in 2 weeks, I'll be in Japan. So I might not be able to upload podcasts or any other videos for the members. So I'll apologize ahead of time. Oh, right. And if you have those books, for example, should have prepared for this. Right, this is my book, Kendo Guide for Beginners. So books have sequences, right? You do this first, you do that, you do this. For example, all right, here. Zenshin Kotai Joge, for example, you do this first, right? Hands above your head, just take a step forward. And as you swing down, as you swing down, you snap up your back foot. Okay, and when you go backwards, you do the other way, right? So we have this sequence. This will be helpful to understand what's going on, right? These books. Of course, there are other books you might find interesting or helpful. For example, I think Salmon Sensei's book, I think it's over there. Yeah, anyway, so Salmon Sensei's book will be helpful for a lot of people as well. So to try to do, so once you have a book in front of you, okay, at first, I really think you need to understand the whole image. This is how it works. Okay, and then break it down to those pieces. For example, we have Sankyodo Shomeuchi, Ich, Ni, San, right? So this is main strike broken into 3 movements. So you understand how it works, how this main strike works, and then make it to 2 movements. Okay, 1, 2, and then make it to 1 movement. So if you break down a movement into some pieces, that might helpful. And then you go back to the book and you go, okay, this is okay. I can do this. I can do that. Okay, this is what we do. So if you have a book, instead of going through 1 to 10, go to the video. I have a video too. It's, what do you call it? It's not synchronized. It go with the book. So if you want, okay, you don't have to do this. Of course, you have a free will to choose what you learn or whom you learn from. If you want to learn what I do, what I teach, go to my YouTube channel and you find those videos, and then see the movements first, and then go back to you. I have a book too, so back to the book, and then okay, check. I know I'm doing this. Okay. And then if you might realize, I should be doing that, so you can do that kind of learning at home too. Okay. So whatever you do, okay, you can do the similar thing without books. You learn something at the dojo, and then go back home and you go step by step. Okay. So thank you for listening, and please make sure that you do things for heat strokes, especially if you're North Hemisphere. It's summer, so don't get heat strokes. If you feel sick, just stop training. Okay, I'll see you. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast. I would like to send special thanks to patrons for their constant support through patreons.com/Kendo For Life.